Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerding with 30. On today, we're going to be covering the Batman movie review. I saw it this past weekend. I absolutely loved it. Where does it land, though? Is it my favorite? Is it my least favorite? It's good. But before I get to that, if you like this type of information and video and this content that we create here, please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And as always, you can always go above and beyond that and become a member of our channel. All right, so the movie breakdown, the way I'm going to be doing it is we're going to be talking about the synopsis of the film, the story of the film, the acting of the film. Then we're also going to jump into did it have any type of identity politics into it, the score, the directing, the editing, the cinematography, what I think about the costume, and my overall thoughts of the film. Now, the synopsis of the film is Robert Pattinson stars as the younger version of Batman, of the Caped Crusader, in Matt Reeves' Batman reboot. Now, which follows Bruce Wayne's early crime fighting. It takes place in year 2 of Batman in this film, but it really pulls a lot from year 1 in the comics. Now, he does go up against a crime fighting days as his tracks a serial killer who is the Riddler, who leaves a cryptic messages at his crime scenes, and then he has to try to figure out what's going on. Now, the story was very dark. The darkest Batman that you'll ever see out of all the previous films, even darker than Nolan's Batman. Now, this hits really close to what's going on in the world today, which is fine, but at the same time, I wish they didn't bring up or put in things from the real world to a fantasy world of Gotham. Like, Batman is what makes it a superhero fantasy, but by grounding Batman in the real world setting, not like Tim Burton's Batman, which really, seems like, it really seems like because it's not the Tim Burton's style, like comic book, and it's grounded in reality, that they're sending us a message rather than making it a bit over the top to make it still seem like it's a thing that would never happen, if that makes sense. Everything that happened in this film seems like it either is happening right now or could happen right now in real life, which keeps you tense the whole time you're watching the film, but then makes you feel like, crap, this could be possible, minus an actual person dressed in a bat, but obviously that could happen. Now, the acting in this film is great, top to bottom. All the different characters they got in this movie, from Robert Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Jeffrey Wright as Lieutenant James Gordon, Colin Farrell as Oz or Penguin, Paul De Niro as the Riddler, John Toretto as Carmine Falcone, Andy Serkis as Alfred. Every single person in this movie has done a great job. Now, Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, he plays Batman great, in my opinion. Like, top notch. I thought going into this, when they first announced him, I wasn't like the biggest fan of Pattinson, but I didn't think he was going to do a shit job. I know a lot of people like to bring up the Twilight series, and Pattinson's been a great actor no matter what movie he's been in. And I was like, let's give it a shot. Now, leading up to this, people are like, well, he's not working out for it. And once you see this film, no spoilers, by the way, like, I'm not going to go really in depth into anything. This is just a review over it. They say he wasn't working out. And because this is like early on Batman, and he wasn't like ripped like Ben Affleck really got fit for this, and he was just so big. Pattinson's not that big, but at the same time, I think he made a correct choice, because the Bruce Wayne that we get in this and the Batman that we get in this, he's just really rough around the edges. He makes mistakes. He's still learning. He's not the Bruce of the billionaire playboy that we see in other films. He's this really raw person of Bruce and also Batman. Pattinson plays Batman and Bruce the exact same. The only difference is that he's not wearing a costume, than he is wearing a costume. He's the same right now. And even in the film, Alfred even tells him, you need to keep up your appearances, you need to keep this stuff up. But again, this is year 2, so this is him still learning around. So I liked him as Batman, but Bruce, he was very different than the Bruce in the past installments, which I totally understand. And I think going forward, if they do make a 2 and a 3, and however long he plays this, I think there's a lot of character growth as Bruce and as Batman. Now, Zoe Kravitz, I think she did her part well. I don't think her character was written well, but I think she did a great job for what she had, or what they gave her. I think they tried to make her character more important than she really was in this film, and I think I'll talk more about this in the other parts of the breakdown. But I really think they did a really good job with her, and I think she's great as Catwoman. But they try to wedge in her story on top of Batman's story. I think Zoe is gorgeous, short hair or not. She's a very attractive woman. She's very good looking, and I think her and Pattinson had great chemistry on film. And I look forward to seeing what happens with that more in the future. Now, Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey did a great job. I really liked how he played James Gordon. I know a lot of people have a problem. I don't know if it's a problem, but the race swap. And I'll tell you what, when an actor does something well, and it can take you in and out of the movie, Jeffrey Wright did not take me out of the movie at all because he's a black man playing, James Gordon. I thought it was great. I thought Jeffrey Wright was a fantastic actor. I didn't care at all about the race swap of the character. I didn't think about it once, like during the actual film. I was like, I don't know, Jeffrey Wright. No, nothing. All right. Wright and Pattinson played off each other so well in this film. Also, it came across really, really great across the film. What I would love them to do between Jeffrey Wright's character and Batman, because they had this, we're already jumping into year 2, and they never told you why that they were so buddy, like how they became. Now, obviously, if you're a Batman fan, you know the story, but in this film, how did Lieutenant James Gordon all of a sudden become buddy with Batman? Like, I would have loved, I didn't need to see a flashback or anything. I would have loved a line or something along the line of when they first started doing the Riddler case. It would have been interesting, said, if Batman was like to Gordon, hey, this reminds me of this, and it could have been a little hint to another character, which I'll kind of go to at the very, very end of this. So Colin Farrell was a really great as the Penguin. Now, you can't even tell it's Colin Farrell. The one thing I have to say about his character, and it came off as doing an impersonation, okay, of Robert De Niro when he picked his voice, the way he was talking. So it didn't feel like his own character. It seemed like he was looking for a person's voice, and he grabbed onto the stereotypical like New York or whatever, but it sounds like Robert De Niro to me. It could have been just me, but it's nothing taking away from Colin Farrell. I think he did a fantastic job. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in other films if he comes back, or in the series that they're doing. Fantastic job there. Paul De Niro as the Riddler. The character felt very interesting to me, but at the same time, if it wasn't a Batman film, it would have just been a regular killer, like Zodiac killer film, right? But because it's in the universe, it's supposed to be some sort of like worse, he's the worst villain, which is Riddler. But if it was just another movie and it wasn't a Batman film, you could have just put this guy as the killer, not as the Riddler, right? Does that make sense? I think he did also a fantastic job what he was given, but at the same time, I think it loosens its effect in the third act. John Toretto, Carmine Falcone. I think John did it very well. But I can tell you this, because of his role in Transformers, and I know he's been in other films. But he's always been like this funny film, and now funny person, right? But now that he's playing Falcone in this, every time, and I know this is just me, okay? This is just personally on me. I see him in the role that he did in Transformers, and I can't get that out of my head, where he made the stupid jokes and acted stupid. Every time I see him, I think of that. Right. And again, I know it's a personal thing. Until he plays a character that like completely stands out better than what he played in Transformers, okay, I'll always see that, if that makes sense, right? So he could be an award-winning actor. A damn Transformers performance always gets me, and I look at him, I love him as an actor, but when I close my eyes and think of it, I'm like, oh, he played that crappy role where he's like, robots have big nards now, you know what I mean? Like, but he did fantastic. I think his role in there, the dialogue they had again between him and Pattinson, very good. Between him and Zoe Kravitz, very good. Even him and Colin Farrell's lines together, he's a great actor. He is a great actor. I just always see him in that crappy Transformers film that he did. Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis once again makes another great role. This guy, no matter what he's in, if he's playing Claw, if he's playing Gollum, it doesn't matter what he's playing in. He's a fantastic actor. I like the time they had on screen with him, and I think the interaction between him and Pattinson, again, the dialogue scenes, which are very few in between, there's only, I think, 3 scenes total, are fantastic. But at the same time, I wish they put more of him on the screen. I look forward to seeing him in the sequels as well. Now, identity politics. Are there identity politics in this film? There are. There's one major moment in here that Zoe Kravitz's character Catwoman says a line, and I'm not gonna say the line. The line's not terrible. It's not like a no. But what I'm saying is, it would have been fine if they just took out the one word. Okay, the one word took me out of the film at that very moment. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. They could have just said, leave that word out, and then just said all the politicians type of stuff, and instead, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the film. If not, again, it's not a big thing, but I bring it up because it is a thing, right? It is a thing in the world that we live in today. And I think they could have just left that out. I feel like it was a studio chosen, not Matt Reeves himself. And then again, the way the movie ends, it's got a bit of political identity politics inside of it as well. But again, not a big deal. But it is there, just to let you know. Okay, the score from top to bottom, the score is great from start to finish. The music's great. It really helps tell the story with Gotham and Batman. Fantastic score. Love it. The directing of Matt Reeves, he did a great job overall. Now, he did direct and write this, so that's great when a director can do both on the film. A lot of people either write or they direct, and not a lot of guys do directing and writing. It's more, don't get me wrong, but fantastic that he did it. Now, the acting and the set pieces are fantastic. The direction that he gave to all the actors and what they've done, beautiful. Gotham itself is a character. Gotham is so dark and dread, and the rain and the shots they've chose to do is another character, like I said, in this film, and it looks great. Some of the shots are done beautifully. Reeves does a great job visually and does really great with the characters that he wrote in this. The cinematography by Greg Fraser, I believe his name is. The cinematography in this film is very good, very good. The lighting and the set pieces are great. It really brings the world to life. Some of the fight scenes are choreographed and shot beautifully, are great, and play in the dark spots, and then the shadows and the light are done great. So there's a hallway scene in this where it's beautiful. I don't know how they do this. Well, I know how they do this because I worked in the industry for years, but it's got to take a really long time. So there's this one scene, or not really spoiler, but it's in the trailer. You'll see it in the trailer. It's just complete darkness, right? And there's gunfire happening. When the gunfires go, that's when it's lit up. Beautifully shot. I loved it. He's fighting. Batman opens an elevator and he comes in and he just starts to fight. It's a beautifully done shot, and I love it. And there's so many beautiful scenes, lit, unlit. The cinematography is excellent. I see like nominations for this film moving forward for this. Like I said, the hallway scene, the practical lighting coming into play, Really cool because the all the light that's in this scene is literally uh, just the gunfight, right? The Batman, the editing, the editing now, the editing is probably the worst part of the film, and this is not knocking the editor. Okay, it's not awful by any means. Okay, but it is the worst part because sometimes in this film, in my opinion, they could have trimmed off bits and pieces, like just the fat, trim off the fat. Okay, some of the scenes make them less lengthy. There's a lot of times in this film they could have made the scene more tight. For instance, again, no spoilers, Batman gets a lot of letters, okay, and the things that he does, like, just put your hand in and grab it and take it out instead of this long drawn out like slow motion type of take your time. Or they could have just tightened it up a little bit. Okay, again, the editing is not terrible, but it is the worst part in my opinion of this film. They could have at least taken at least 20 minutes if not 30 minutes off of this, and the movie would have been, in my opinion, perfect. Would have been perfect. Okay, not to say that all movies need to be short or all movies need to be long. This particular movie, just a bit too long with the substance that I was giving in the edit that it was. But that going into it, again, the editing is probably the worst part for me. The Batman costume. This Batman costume, I think, is my favorite costume. The way that Pattinson fights in this, okay, Robert did a fantastic job, I said earlier, as Batman. The way he fights in this is just phenomenal. Like, he doesn't feel like he's like stiff in any way, shape, or form. He's 100% moving, and he's very articulate, very articulate. So the fight scenes that are happening in this film are fantastic. There's like 3 or 4 good fight scenes that you can tell he doesn't feel like he's stiff in any way, shape, or form. He has freedom of moving. So the costume design of this Batsuit, awesome. He looks awesome in this. Again, he's probably one of my favorite Batman. Michael Keaton's my favorite overall Batman, as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. But I'll tell you, as Batman, Robert Pattinson is like right up there. And costume alone, I think, is my favorite Batman costume. It's close though. I really do like Michael Keaton's Batman costume, but I just love how the freedom, and it makes it just seem more, again, because it's grounded in reality. It seems like something that you would see someone wear, right? My overall thoughts: it's a great Batman film. Overall, it's is it perfect? No, it's not a masterpiece in my opinion. I know a lot of people will look at that and say, well, you're crazy, this is the best Batman film, and that's great. These are my opinions. You have your opinions, but I really like this film. It's a great starting point for Pattinson's Batman. Moving forward, I think the length is what's the biggest problem for me of this film, and I think it's going to hurt this movie in the box office because of the length. A lot of people would go see this if this movie was a 2-hour 15, 2-hour 20-minute movie, 2-hour even 30-minute movie. I think people would go back. There's a lot of spots in this that just kind of like, okay, let's move on. But when it comes out on DVD or comes out on a streaming service, by all means, more people would watch it. But going back to the theater to watch it a second or third time, don't get me wrong, there are going to be people that go out there and watch it for 2 or 3 times, maybe even more. But the repeat watching of this, it's a little too long for what it is. Now, it's not a bad problem, but again, they could have been a bit shorter with the actual film itself. There's a lot more stuff that I would love to talk about, but this is just my overall. If I don't really like give scores, but I would say if you're a big Batman or DC fan, go to the theater, watch this ASAP. If you're a person that's interested in Batman, watch it when it comes on HBO Max. I think it's a must watch if you are a comic book fan. Now, it all depends if you want to go see it in theaters or if you want to wait till it comes on television. But this is a definite add to collection if you're a Batman fan. Where would I rank this between all Batman films? I'll tell you what, I really like the 89 Batman. 89 Batman is one of my favorite, but then again, it's just the era I grew up in. Dark Knight is, in Nolan's reality, to me, it's not as good as Dark Knight. Better than Dark Knight Rises, just as far as the acting, the pacing, and stuff like that. I would say this is like maybe 3 or 4 out of the 13 films for me. It's definitely up in the upper part of Batman films. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below if you like this type of content. I do appreciate you very much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.